Hello everyone. With the release of the Albaz Strike Structure deck, we're going to go full Man of Culture and look into branded Maids. To start up our lineup of monsters, we're going to have triple copies of Kitchen Dragonmaid. When normal or special summoned, she can add any of the Dragonmaid monsters from your deck to your hand, and she has the Dragonmaid shared effect that she can return herself to hand to special summon any of the larger Dragonmaids from hand or grave at the beginning of the battle phase. Next up, 3 copies of Chamber Dragonmaid. When summoned, she can add any of the Dragonmaid spells or traps from deck to hand, and shares the effect that she can tag herself out during the battle phase. 2 copies of Parlor Dragonmaid. When summoned, she can send any of the Dragonmaid spells or traps directly to the grave from the deck, and she has the shared effect to tag herself out during battle phase. 2 copies of Nurse. She can, on summon, revive any of the other low-level Dragonmaids from the grave. Triple copies of Dragonmaid Tinkhek. During the battle phase, she's able to discard herself from hand in order to increase the attack of any of the other Dragonmaids. Additionally, she can tag herself out at the end of the battle phase for a lower level Dragonmaid. She is a counterpart to Kitchen. Triple copies of Dragonmaid Urnus. She's a useful extender. She can discard herself as a quick effect in order to special summon a low level Dragonmaid from hand or grave. And a single copy of Lorpar. She can discard herself in order to negate the effects of a card on field, but we're actually using her as a brick to be able to summon Parlor off of Hospitality if necessary. A single copy of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. He can banish any dragon-type monster on the field in order to summon himself and another dragon from hand. He's a useful extender. 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz, on top of being a Super Polyon summon, which means that he can fuse using your opponent's field. He's also the necessary material for a good amount of our extra deck monsters. A single copy of the Light Hex Sealed Fusion. It can be treated as any other fusion material, so long as the other ones are correct, which allows us to summon things that we rightfully should not be able to summon in this deck, like for instance, El Shaddai Winda. Then we're going to have 11 handtraps. These can be fully substituted or customized to your liking for any staple. If you're a battle traps type of guy, you can go for that. If you're a full meta type of guy, you can go for that. It's really up to you. Triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. She's a fan favorite. She stops deck manipulation, which tends to screw a good number of decks out there. 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Blows up a card on effect activation so long as it was already face up on the field. It's a convenient way to get rid of link climbing as well as continuous back row. Single copy of Effect Veiler can negate a monster during your opponent's turn. Single copy of Ghost Mourner, basically the same thing as Effect Veiler, except it has to be on the monster summon, but it burns your opponent for its ATK. Single copy of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, my personal favorite. If your opponent's playing a combo deck, you can get your life points into the tens of thousands. Single copy of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, the more awkward little sister of Ash. She prevents graveyard manipulation. And finally, a single copy of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. Since everyone's going to be playing branded things, for once, she can actually come in handy. That does it for our lineup of monsters. For our lineup of back row, we're going to have triple copies of Branded Fusion. It allows you to fusion summon using materials in your hand, deck, or field by sending them to the grave. Do be aware that it locks you into fusion summoning from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, so Actually, no, for the entire turn, meaning that if you're going into link plays, it's not on the same turn you're using this. Triple copies of Dragonmaid Hospitality. It allows you to summon a Dragonmaid from hand and then send its counterpart to the grave. And finally, 2 copies of Dragonmaid Changeover, the Dragonmaid Fusion spell. You can fusion summon any dragon type, which means that you will be able to use it to bring out your albaz fusions if you get the opportunity. Additionally, the fusion effect is not once per turn, so if you draw both, if you have the appropriate materials, you can have a bit of fun with that. It also has a once per turn effect that allows you to recycle the same card by bouncing itself from grave and a Dragonmaid from field back to your hand. Looking into our extra deck, we're going to have 3 copies of Dragonmaid Xiao. 3.5k beat stick with an Omni Negate. She's a key interruption and can be a win condition. Additionally, to activate her negation effect, she tags herself out into her counterpart. House Dragonmaid, the counterpart of Xiao. She can blow up things when you bounce your Dragonmaids, which does happen at the beginning and end of your battle phase. It's not once per turn. Both Xiao and House are able to summon things from your grave during the standby phase, so keep an eye out for that to increase that field advantage. 2 copies of Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. Tributes itself to bounce one of your opponent's cards back to their hand, and then can summon a dragon from the deck. A single copy of Predaplant Dragos Tapelia. Since it requires a fusion monster and a dark monster, it's fairly generic, and it does allow you to negate a monster effect as a quick effect. Single copy of Predaplant Verte Anaconda. Pay 2,000 life points, copy the effect of a fusion spell, and fusion summon using that, and that's the last summon in the turn. Now, typically, you don't actually want to use this, but you can use it to copy your branded fusion, and that's if you're in a pinch. El Shaddoll Winda. It's a floodgate that limits both players to 1 special summon per turn. You'll be using your Hex Sealed Fusion to mimic the Shaddoll monster, and as for the Dark monster, you'll typically be going with your Albaz. This allows you to get a convenient floodgate on top of your negates. If that's what's inconvenient for your opponent, then it's a good thing to go to. Albion, the Branded Dragon. So this is one of the new combo pieces. When it's fusion summoned, it can fusion summon another one by banishing the fusion materials from your hand, field, or grave. So typically speaking, what you'll do is you'll have the branded fusion send the materials to grave from deck. You'll summon this. You'll then have this banish the materials from the grave to do another fusion summon, which will be of Lubline the Searing Dragon. And when he's summoned, he further allows you to use what you just banished by shuffling that into the deck to summon yet another one. So once you get that combo going, you can get 3 bodies onto the fields to do whatever you want with. Do bear in mind, though, that Lubline requires you to discard to activate the effect. And finally, a single copy of Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon, the brand new Plan B boss monster. She can, as a quick effect, banish one of your opponent's things. And if your opponent does manage to out her, he's not out of the water yet, because during the end phase, she will blow up his field, which I assure you he will be absolutely thrilled about. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Have fun!